Hi there and welcome back to Fuzzy on the Details. My name is Fuzzy, and this is an exciting time of year to be a fan of the Marvel Multiverse Roleplaying Game. Free RPG Day is right around the corner on June 22nd, meaning we'll be getting a sneak peek of the brand new X-Men expansion book. On July 16th, we're getting the Deadpool Roleplays the Marvel Universe comic book/adventure. And it was just announced yesterday, as of this recording, that the Glass Cannon Network is working with Marvel on an actual play of that adventure, recorded live at the San Diego Comic-Con on July 26th. Then, the full X-Men expansion will be released on August 6th. So the mighty Marvel marketing machine is going to be working overtime for the next few months, and an unprecedented number of new players will be exposed to the game, many of them Marvel fans that might not have a ton of, or any, RPG experience. And all of this gets me thinking, how can we best prepare for this influx of new players and make sure that they've got a great first impression of the game that we love so much? Because in the past, I've occasionally sensed some level of caution or reserve when people first learn about the game. So I wanted to dig into why, and I surveyed a lot of these folks over the last couple of months, some of them newcomers to the game and some of them newcomers to RPGs in general. And I did find some patterns in the responses, so I wanted to share what some of the perceived obstacles might be for people jumping in with both feet, and more importantly, offer some solutions that I think will really help create a great first experience for new players, and hopefully help them blossom into full fans of the game. So, let's get into the details. First off, let's review some of these concerns that people might have that would prevent them from giving MMRPG a shot. For many, learning a new system or a rule set can be a daunting task. For RPG newcomers, they're not used to the idea of a 300 or 400-page rulebook, and that can scare them off from the get-go, a complete non-starter. And talking to veterans who are new to Marvel, while the size of the rulebook isn't that bad compared to other games, they still have assumptions about how long it takes to learn a system, and many of them feel like they really need to know the rules thoroughly before they sit down and play. I think there's this perception that they could create a suboptimal character, which could lead to a bad experience on the table. Second, a lot of us are Marvel superfans, but even for us it's impossible to stay up to date on all things Marvel. Now imagine a casual fan, somebody who saw X-Men 97 on Disney Plus because everyone else was talking about it, but has no idea who Werewolf by Night is. Or maybe someone who picks up the occasional graphic novel, but couldn't tell you what recent storylines like X of Swords or Blood Hunt were. I've talked to a lot of people who love Marvel, but are still a little nervous about playing with people who might be bigger fans of the IP than them, because then they feel like they don't know enough about Marvel to play in a game set in that world. I've heard people say multiple times, what if I don't play the character correctly because I haven't read all of the comics? And this was such a common concern that it's something I've begun to proactively bring up in session zeros, or even prior to that. Third, and this is a related concern, but sometimes the character options feel overwhelming. When talking about the game, I might say something like, oh, you can play anything or anyone you want. And that's not always the positive that I think it is. I've seen people shut down during a character discussion when there are too many options on the table. Never mind the idea of making your own character with infinite choices. For many of us, that might be a fun exercise because we know the rules, but for others, it can feel a lot like homework. And that takes us to our last obstacle, time commitment. If you have a friend looking to try out the game for the first time and you say, hey, before we sit down to play for a few hours, we need to meet like a week earlier and invest some time in a session zero where we sit down and talk about playing but never actually play. And then you say, oh, by the way, the game that we're playing is called Cataclysm of Kang, and it's a 6-part adventure, which will probably take like over 100 hours to complete. Listen, if you and your gaming group are planning a long-term campaign, obviously a session zero is crucial. And taking extra time to create the characters in a well-balanced party will absolutely pay off in the long run. But for someone who doesn't even know if they like the game, this can put them off completely. Good news though, I've got some approaches that tackle each one of these issues head on and will help you create and run a game that is very new player friendly. First off, the rules do not have to be that daunting. Sure, you can point people to the free rules on Roll20, but I think you can go a step further. My opinion is that you can actually teach the rules of the Marvel Multiverse RPG as you play. At its core, all RPGs are just playing make-believe but with dice. And even casual fans of the Marvel IP know enough of the basics to have a good time. For example, they know that Wolverine is really good at slashing things and he can heal fast. Or that Spider-Man can use his webbing to trap bad guys and swing around the city. All a player really has to do is describe what they want their character to do, and the narrator can translate that into game terminology and slowly introduce the mechanics behind it as you play. For example, if somebody playing Wolverine says, I want him to attack that bad guy over there, you don't need anything more than that. You can repeat that back and say, great. You can use your move action to get close, and then you can use your basic attack, which is called Vicious Attack, and try and slice him up. Sound good? Great. Give me a roll. I've actually tested this approach out in some intro games a number of times, and I've got a framework that I think works well. First, I make sure to start off with a skill-based encounter where you can introduce the D616 mechanic and some pretty basic concepts like ability scores, target numbers, and maybe even traits and tags. You won't expose them to the threat of combat in this encounter, but they still might use some of their powers such as flight or phasing, depending on the situation. Then, armed with that knowledge, the second encounter should be a very easy combat, something that could be handled without any tactics or any higher ranked powers at all. In this combat, they'll learn about initiative, damage, and get to use some of those combat powers as well, at least the basic ones. Finally, you have your big boss battle at the end, where you can introduce tactics like the help teammate reaction, some higher rank offensive powers, and spending karma, and you can do all of this organically. So if a player says, hey, I want to attack Sabretooth and that's your big bad, you can say, absolutely. Now, in the last combat, remember you were fighting henchmen, so you used your basic attack. Fighting a tougher opponent like Sabretooth, you've got an option to spend some focus points and use a more powerful attack called Focus Fury. That basically lets you roll with an edge and gives you a little extra damage. You do have to spend focus, and that's a limited resource, so you won't be able to do this on every attack, but now might be a good time to try it out. Totally up to you. What do you think Wolverine would do? And honestly, for a first game, you do not need the player to use every power they have on their character profile. It's okay if they keep things simple, and even if they make suboptimal choices. They're going to come back to your table if they had fun, so only share enough rules that facilitate having a good time. And personally, I leave off certain concepts like team maneuvers entirely. I think you can do that and the player will still have a good sense of how the game works. To tackle the problem of a player feeling like they don't know enough about Marvel to effectively play, just ask them, what is the corner of the Marvel universe you're the most comfortable with? Or what's the one you just enjoy the most? It doesn't matter if it's a movie, TV show, graphic novel, or even a video game. For example, let's say somebody really loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the only movie they saw in the theater 3 times. You can say, great, we can set the game in that corner of the universe, and the only thing you really need to know about the world is whatever happened in that movie. And then you hit them with the pitch for the game. Hey, you know at the end of the movie when we see Groot and Adam Warlock, Cosmo, Phyla-Vell, and Kraglin and Rocket, they're all together ready to run off to some adventure? What do you think they're up to now? Do you want to figure that out together? That'd be a really good way to hook them into the game. Another example, let's say you've got a gamer friend and Midnight Suns was his introduction to Marvel. He didn't know anything about those characters beforehand. Your pitch could be, hey, imagine there's a new DLC for the game, and you get to decide what happens in it. Oh, and by the way, the game is all of a sudden multiplayer and you can play with your friends. Oh, and the DLC is free. There's no cost for a season pass or anything like that. Would you be interested in playing that? And finally, one way to address the concerns about time commitment is you can further limit some character choices by choosing a rank to play at. For example, there are a lot of characters in the Midnight Suns game, some of them extremely powerful like Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange. Playing them would be a very different game from playing with the rank 4s like Wolverine, Deadpool, and Iron Man. So you can just say, hey guys, we're going to stick to rank 4 characters, and here are the options you can choose from, listing them all out. Pick the one you like best, and remember, this isn't a forever choice, this is just for the one game. And all of the options, of course, should be ones that fit nicely into the adventure that you've got in mind, and work well with each other too. By taking this approach, you can whittle the character selection time down to just a few seconds. And when we look at how we've minimized the time commitment as a whole through all of these suggestions, it really adds up. We've gotten rid of the time it takes to read the full rule book, because we're going to be feeding the rules to them organically. We've eliminated the time it takes for players to collaborate on figuring out the theme of the type of game they want to play by just asking them what's your favorite property. We've eliminated a separate character creation session, plus all of the planning that goes into that, by giving them options for characters they want to play. And of course, we've helped eliminate intra-party conflict because all the characters we gave them as options have a clear purpose and are all already on the same team. And then that really frees you up, gives you more time to really create a fun experience that's going to get players excited to explore more. And that's when they go back and say, hey, let me read these rules now because I like this game, or let me give some thought to a different character I might want to play, or even a different theme I might want to explore. So let's put all of these suggestions together in one cohesive example that I think would be sure to hook some brand new fans of Marvel, specifically those who enjoyed X-Men 97. There are some mild spoilers for the end of the show, so if you've enjoyed the video thus far but need to bail, now's a good time to do that. But I appreciate a like before you go. So here's how you make the pitch to these new players. Confirm with them that the only piece of Marvel IP that they need to have consumed to have a full and rich experience is Season 1 of X-Men 97. That's it. Doesn't matter if they've never read a comic book in their life. The game starts the day after E-Day, and it follows some of those surviving lower-rank mutants like Jubilee and Sunspot and their allies, and explores how they would survive in the world with some of the most powerful and heroic mutants presumed dead. You would provide them with a list of several rank 2 or 3 characters that either appeared on Forge's board, seen here, or in some of the other scenes from later in the season. So this would include characters like Jubilee, Sunspot, Shadowcat, Psylocke, Dust, Cypher, Cloak and Dagger, and Puck. And then tell them that the story works so that it will slowly introduce the rules to them, with increasing and varied challenges, so all they have to do is focus on having fun, and they'll learn the rules almost as a byproduct. Wouldn't it be great if an adventure like that already existed? Wouldn't it? Well, true believers, it does. Well, at least a 14-page beta version of it does, as I just completed writing it yesterday. I don't want to give out spoilers, so if you're interested in playing it, you can still listen. But the game is designed for first-time players and first-time narrators, and I've put a ton of specific narrator suggestions in there too. So if you're watching this video and it's still May or early June of 2024, and you're interested in running this game for your own group, I would be happy to send you a copy right now of the beta version. Just reach out to me. My email's right here, and it's in the description too. All I ask is for some timely feedback so I can make any necessary updates before Free RPG Day. The earlier the better. Also, if you're listening to this and you've never played Marvel Multiverse before, and you're interested, reach out to me, because I've still got some limited slots open for my own personal beta test. Again, this option would be only for those who have never played the game before. I'm especially interested in your feedback. Now, if you're watching this and it's late June of 2024 or later, by now I've already updated the description with a link to the final version of this adventure, which I forgot to mention will be free. It's there, anyone can download it, have a blast with it, and you can still send me feedback as well. There's always room for improvement. If you really enjoy this type of content, let me know and I'll see if I can do more in the future. All right, true believers, that's all I've got for you this week. I know there's been a bit of a gap since my last video, but writing that adventure definitely took a lot longer than I expected, so I really appreciate your patience. If people like it, I can consider doing a one-shot actual play for this adventure. I've already gotten some requests for an AP, so this might be a good opportunity to try it out. Let me know what you think. And also, if you've got anything you'd specifically like to see or not see included in an actual play, I'd love to hear from you. As you know, I thrive on your feedback, and I'm happy to steer things in a direction of your choosing. Thank you so much as always, and I hope you guys have a great day.